In the dim, flickering light of a rural New York kitchen, a father holds his son on the edge of a high table. "Jump," he says. The boy trusts him. He leaps. The father steps back. The boy crashes into the floorboards, gasping, broken. The father leans down, his face a mask of cold indifference. "Remember," he whispers, "never trust anyone. Not even me." This wasn't a game. This was John D. Rockefeller's first lesson in a world where you are either the predator or the prey. By the time he was a man, he had turned his father's cruelty into a global weapon. Tonight, we uncover how a man who controlled 90% of America's oil became the most hated, most powerful person in history, and why, when the government tried to shatter his empire, he only became richer. To understand Rockefeller, you must understand his obsession with what he called the Red Ledger. At just 16 years old, while other boys dreamed of adventure, John was obsessed with numbers. He earned 50 cents a day as an assistant bookkeeper, recording every single penny, every grain of salt that passed through the business. To him, numbers didn't lie. People, David, his father, a con artist known as Devil Bill, had abandoned the family, leaving them in poverty and shame. John took this trauma and used it to harden his resolve. He didn't just want wealth. He wanted absolute, unbreakable control over the chaos of life. When he started his first oil refinery, he wasn't just looking at barrels of oil, he was looking at the staggering inefficiency of the world. While his competitors dumped their refining waste into the river, he saw profit. He refined the sludge. When barrel makers charged too much, he built his own barrels, cutting the cost in half. He relentlessly cut out every single middleman. By the time he was 30, he didn't just have a business. He had a machine, perfectly tuned and ruthlessly efficient. Imagine walking into a room to sign a contract, knowing the outcome before you even shake hands. That was Rockefeller at his headquarters on 26 Broadway. He didn't compete, a suffocate. Through secret partnerships with the railroads, he created a shell corporation called the South Improvement Company. It was a trap designed to choke his rivals. He demanded massive rebates for his own oil shipments. But more importantly, he demanded a drawback, a secret fee paid to him for every single barrel his competitors shipped. He was literally being paid by his enemy's success. He would visit his rivals, polite as a church deacon, and lay out the math of their inevitable bankruptcy right on their desk. "Sell to me," he'd say, gesturing toward the open window 6 stories up, "or you'll be a name in the obituaries." This was not business. This was the slow, crushing embrace of a boa constrictor. In one 48-hour window in Cleveland, he swallowed 6 major refineries. He didn't win the market, he became the market. By 1882, the law was finally closing in. Politicians were calling for an end to his monopoly. But Rockefeller was always 3 steps ahead. His lawyers invented a brilliant, shadowy legal entity called the trust. The Standard Oil Trust acted like a ghost. It owned everything, dozens of companies across multiple states. It answered to no one. You could feel its reach every time you lit a lamp or paid for heat, but you couldn't touch it. It was an intentional maze of paperwork, designed to frustrate and confuse the government. Behind the scenes, he was optimizing humanity itself. He famously gave away millions of free lamps to people across China. This wasn't kindness. It was a strategy to create a lifelong, continent-wide addiction to his kerosene. He wasn't just a businessman anymore. He was an architect of the modern world's consumption. But as the money piled up into unimaginable mountains, the man himself began to wither. A stress-induced alopecia ravaged his body. All of his hair fell out, leaving him to wear wigs for the rest of his life. His digestive system failed, and he could only eat crackers and milk. The monster he created was eating its master from the inside out. Then came Ida Tarbell, the journalist who finally ripped the mask off. Her father's small oil business had been crushed by Rockefeller years before. She made it her life's mission to expose him. For years, she dug into his past, exposing his father's crimes, his secret railroad rebates, and his ruthless purges of competitors. The public turned on him. The Supreme Court finally ordered the Standard Oil empire to be shattered into 34 separate pieces. But here is the ultimate irony. The day the monopoly died was the day Rockefeller officially became a billionaire. The individual fragments of his emperor companies that would become Exxon Mobil, and chevron soared in value on the open market. He had outplayed the government, the law, and the public. In his final years, he reinvented himself as a saintly philanthropist, famously handing out shiny new dimes to children he met on the street. Was it genuine remorse, or was it his last and greatest con? John D. Rockefeller died at the age of 97, leaving behind a world he built on cold, hard numbers. But it makes you wonder, in his relentless pursuit of absolute control, did he ever actually get to live? Or was he the one who was trapped by the ledger all along? Let me know your take in the comments below. Thanks for watching.